Welcome to Tech Wrecked. I'm your host, Alicia Kellstrom, and I work in tech. At the start of 2024, I noticed a lot of people like me experiencing a tech job market like we've never seen before. On this podcast, we share stories on breaking into tech, tools and advice for the modern tech job seeker, and what it's like out there in layoff land. And here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech Wrecked. Today we have Ruth Chew. Ruth and I worked together at a company a couple jobs ago, and I saw a post of hers on LinkedIn that was very intriguing, so I invited her to be on the show. Hi Ruth, how are you doing?
Hi, great to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on. It's been a little while. We were chatting via LinkedIn and via email, but it's so great to see you again.
Yeah, same. Always great to catch up.
Cool. So, Ruth, I'm changing the format a little bit of the show, but we are still going to do just a little brief overview of what area of the tech industry you are in, what your specialty is. So, give us just like very high level what you do.
Yeah, super high level. I'm a product manager. I'm kind of at the mid-senior stage, so I was looking at either like individual contributor, lead product manager role. I was also open to director level or group product manager role. I have some specialization in marketplaces and machine learning, and we'll talk a little bit about how that specialization plays into the job search. But basically, PM, kind of senior, which is a weird state for this job market.
Ooh, tell me why. Explain that a little more.
Yeah. Basically, what we're seeing is a lot of flattening happening in organizations. A lot of mid-senior managers are getting cut. They're hanging on to C-suite, VP, senior director level folks. But there's a lot of pressure to streamline middle management right now. You're seeing, like, I was pretty shocked. I was ambivalent between going the IC or people manager route. And it was just like, like no responses at all on people management, very few job postings even going up. So there's a lot of pressure right now to slim that down. And after like a couple of weeks, I was like, I was ambivalent anyway between IC and people manager. That's okay. I'm just gonna put all my eggs in the IC route.
Got it. That's interesting. So, what do you think that strategy is all about? Why they would want to? It feels like it's a pendulum swing. So, if we're going to be back here anyway, why are we doing the swing, right? What is it about middle management that is not a part of the strategy today?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like cost cutting pressure, right? It's really easy for someone to look at an org chart and be like, oh, okay, we've got one middle manager with 3 reports and another middle manager with 3 reports. Well, we're just gonna group all 6 ICs under one person and we just like nix off one headcount, right? And in fairness, like most of the work is done by ICs. You do miss a little bit of direction and like hands-on coaching when you put too many ICs under one manager. But if you're someone in the C-suite and you're like really looking to cut headcount, yeah, I see it. Like putting more ICs under a manager is an easy way to get cost savings without really hurting how much output your company can produce.
Interesting. But does it lead to burnout on that managerial level?
Yeah, I think for that manager, it can. It still does depend on how many ICs you have. Like going from 3 to 6 might be manageable. I've heard horror stories, especially on the engineering side, where people now have like 20 ICs reporting to them. I'm like, that's not good.
Mm-mm. That's crazy. Well, and then in 5 years, it'll be going back the other way again, and we'll get another layer of middle management. So all the ICs that are kind of holding it down right now, just wait. You'll be a manager in a couple of years, right?
Yep,
Uh,
exactly. And we'll just come back.
yeah, exactly. Wow, that's funny. Cool. So we're not going to get into the weeds. I know I have a million questions about what product managers do, but we are going to be focused today on what your experience was in the job market. I talk to people who have either been laid off or willingly left companies or are just trying to pivot into tech. So where do you fall in that on that scale?
I fall more into like the laid off bucket. I left October 23 and I was like, oh, this is not a fun job market. But I was happy with my role, happy with the industry. So I was basically looking to be like, yeah, let's get back on the same horse.
I was kind of in the market shortly after you were looking and seeing
Mhm.
what the market was like, and I was like, "Whoa, this is totally different from years prior where I've
Yeah.
been on the job hunt." So what did you see from your side?
Yeah. I think I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so I already knew the market was kind of awful going into it. Just with the timing, because it was October, I was like, no one is actually recruiting in November and December, right? I've seen this at pod company. People are like, no, we just want to get to the holiday. So I had a nice guilt-free 2 month vacation. I told myself, rest and recharge. We'll start recruiting in January. January got back into the market and just started feeling it out. While I was recharging, I took some time to think about, hey, product managers are kind of generalists, but at the same time, it's good to have a specialization story. So what do I want out of my next role? What types of companies was I going for? Either what types of products I would be managing or what verticals, what stage of company, Series A versus public company, extremely different. So spend my recharge time thinking through that. And then basically the minute the recruiting floodgate opened in January, just started kind of going with kind of like looking for clients, right? And started by going after things that fell in my target. And then I figured if plan A didn't work out, then I would expand to plan B and plan C. But I was lucky in the sense that my plan A worked out pretty quickly.
Really? Oh, tell us how that worked out.
Yeah. For me, a lot of my background is in marketplace products and machine learning. So I was lucky on those fronts, right? Like marketplaces is a evergreen specialization. I have quite a lot of marketplace experience. So for me, it was an easy pitch to be like, you need a marketplace PM. I'm a great fit. For machine learning, I was also lucky because there's a lot of tailwinds coming from the AI stuff. To be frank, I recruited for a couple of AI roles and did not have the technical chops, but there were still a lot of companies looking for ML PMs. And again, I had the same track record there. So I think for me, I got lucky in the sense that the things I was interested in, I had the background for. And the industry was also doing slightly better than average, right? If I had gone in just as a pure generalist or a pure B2C PM, I would probably not have had a fun time. But just given where my interests were and what the industry needed, I kind of got really lucky on that
Oh
front.
my gosh, what a dream. Yes, you are the epitome of what this market is supporting right now, which is this hyper specific market. And like you had, it was the right time, you had the right background, it's the right specialization. Can you imagine what new college kids are dealing with right now? Like, I cannot. Even when I was in college, I was like, I can't pick a particular path. Like, I don't know anything about anything. This is just wow. Congratulations, because that seemed to work out really beautifully for you.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I got really lucky. I knew the tech market was dead, but like once I started the ball rolling in January, after about 3 weeks, I was like, oh, I'll probably be okay. I'm getting called back. So feel lucky, I think.
Oh my gosh. And so how long did it take end to end? And also, good for you for taking the 2 months because I don't feel like a lot of people they're just so worried. And for me, when I initially started looking in November, I was like, initially my thought was, oh, there's going to be plenty of jobs. By December, I'll have an offer and I'll start in January. And then I very quickly found out, nope, not happening. Like nothing is moving right now. And I really kind of had to just lay low until January when things started to pick up. But sorry, so many questions. So when you started looking in earnest in January, how long did it take for you to find your new role?
Well, I started looking in earnest maybe about January 10th. I had a slow start out of New Year.
Very nice.
Started looking maybe about January 10th and then signed my offer letter April 1st, which I remember very clearly. So that's why I say I got really lucky. I was like two and 2/3 of months looking, which I think is really abnormal.
No, I know because a lot of people at least 9 months. And I think maybe things are changing now. We're on the second half of the year. I think things are accelerating a little bit more, but there's still folks that I hear that have been looking for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
It's
pretty
like,
good.
yeah, that's why I was like, I feel really fortunate, but it really is like something like the worst tech job market of the last decade plus, right? Like I've formerly been in tech for maybe 8 years, but was recruiting for tech for like 10 years, 11 years back. And this is the worst I've seen it.
I mean, yes, that's what everybody has been saying. And that's why with that hyper specificity, like for me, I was thinking of potentially pivoting into a different type of role. And then I very quickly realized like, nope, because there are hundreds of candidates that have the exact experience that that company is looking for. and you'll never be able to compete against that, if you're trying to pivot. So now is not the time to pivot. Now is the time to stay in your lane. And, some people are lucky and can use their transferable skills, but for the most part, there's too many people in the market for the same jobs.
Yeah. And it actually really surprised me how specific it was. So there's different types of machine learning products. I've really done what's known as ranking. So if you think of like Google search results, which results should be first, second, third. Most of my background is in ranking. For ranking jobs, search ranking jobs I applied to, I would get about 60-70% response rate to cold resume jobs, which was pretty good. But if you look at a sister product recommendation system, it's still machine learning. It's still kind of the same thing. Response rate would drop to 10 or 15%, right? So it's so specialized. It's not just machine learning, it's the exact problem that they want to see you have worked on.
And I can imagine that that will also apply to other industry or other types of, like, not just product marketing or product management, et cetera. It's in IT, software, front end, back end, et cetera. Everything needs to be an exact match.
Yep. If you can show you've basically done the job before, that's how, if you want to quickly get out of this market, look for the exact same thing you've done, ideally have done a couple of times, and people will take you up on it.
Wow, that's kind of frustrating, I think, but at the same time, like, how do you feel about that? Because you have this very specific background. Obviously, it's something that interests you, right?
Yeah. Pros and cons, right? I think is just where the market is right now. So right now, frankly, ball's in the employer's court. So yeah, they get to ask for a lot of things. I think once the pendulum swings a little bit back to it not being such a tight market, you'll see more employers willing to take a risk.
Mhm. Which is so funny. Why is it risky? In what way is it risky?
Mhm. Makes no sense. And some of this stuff is very people can learn and pick it up. And even then, I'm sometimes the best folks have knowledge from a lot of different disciplines, right? They can combine things, they can see similarities in another problem. It's not sure. I guess you feel like you've got a safe pair of hands if you're doing a search ranking problem and you hire a search ranking PM, but if that's the only thing they've ever seen, that's also not great in a different way.
Mhm. But I guess from the success of the candidate in the role, if they have demonstrated a background in what you are specifically looking for, it's more likely that that candidate will stay as long as they're not interested in diversifying their experience at all.
Yeah, exactly. I
Oh,
think,
wow.
well, I also wonder if the decision might be a little different between startups and big companies. Like with startups, a lot of times when I joined Wonolo, no one knew how to do search ranking. So they're like, yeah, we definitely need someone with this background. So I think they're a little stricter on it. But if you're like a big public company and you have like hundreds of PMs or hundreds of data scientists who can coach someone with the raw potential, it makes a little bit less sense to be so stringent on the background.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's very multifaceted, obviously, and there's so many different considerations to make. And I love that you took that time to really isolate the stage of the company was in, what industries, all that stuff. But it sounds like you were keeping very close track. You know the response rates based off of the type of machine learning recs. So how many jobs did you actually apply to? And how were you
Oh,
tracking it all?
okay. I'm very much a data nerd. So literally, I made a spreadsheet. Of course, I made a spreadsheet. I made a spreadsheet of literally, I applied to this role. This is the JD. I applied to this role on this date. This is when the recruiter pinged me back. This is how far I got into the process. And also, was this a IC role? Was this a people manager role? Was this an ML role? Was this a marketplace role? Was it both? But I literally, and I also kept track of which channel, right? Was this a blind resume drop? Did I go through a referral? So I basically made a giant spreadsheet,
That's
and that's what.
amazing.
So I have a very good sense of, okay, the people management thing was not working out. I had a couple of, oh, this role looks interesting, but it's not ML or machine learning. Let me just check my resume in anyway. And I'd be like, oh, I'm also not getting responses there, which is how I figured out pretty quickly to go the specialized route. That's where
Yes.
all the traction was.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I love that. I love a spreadsheet. I'm a big fan of them. So how many roles did you apply to?
Let's see, 86 roles.
That's really not that many in the grand scheme of how many weeks you were actively looking. And did you continue to apply to places even as you were getting into final stages with your interview process?
Yeah, I kept applying just because a couple of my final rounds didn't work out, even after they had given me really good feedback. So I was like, not over until I actually
I
sign with
know.
someone.
I agree. Mhm.
So kept applying, but I think why you're seeing me not put in that many applications was like again, my plan A was clearly working. I was getting a good callback rate for the companies I was interested in. So I just did not look at plan B or plan C companies, right? So I applied to fewer companies because I was like, okay, I'm getting a good response rate from the companies I care about. I'm not going to chase after the random healthcare tech company. I'm not going to chase after this like accounting software company. I don't need to activate plan B or plan C. I'm just going to keep looking at my target.
Yeah. You are so efficient. You put up some really, really awesome summaries of your experience on LinkedIn, so I'll share that in the show notes. But at a high level, what would you say is the most important thing? And do you think it still applies? Because now you and I have both been gainfully employed and things change so quickly. So do you think that the market is still what it was in the first half of 2024? Do you think there's been signs of it easing up a little bit? And then also what's your, like, number 1 advice for the job seekers?
Yeah, I think the market is a little better, but not that much better, right? It's maybe only 10 to 20% better. So my friends who are looking for pure people manager roles and product management, they are having a really rough go of it, right? The folks who are looking for IC roles having it slightly better. So more jobs are coming online, but we're not quite there yet. It's still going to be rough going for a bit. My number one piece of advice is again, I would go being very specialized. If your goal is to get a job quickly, if you want to take the time and career change, no harm, no foul, you do you, right? But if you're a lot of us have bills to pay. If you're like, I want a job, the specialization thing is really important, right? That's not just like the mental game of identifying companies, identifying roles. It's like tailoring your resume. I had 4 versions of the resume literally that said lead marketplace product manager or lead machine learning product manager, right? The whole thing, right? Think about it as product marketing or marketing yourself. You need to have one consistent pitch being like, I'm a super specialized marketplace PM. You want a marketplace PM, pick me.
Mhm.
Really lean into the specialization story.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's really, really key. And just for, like, people who don't know what a marketplace is, can you just give a very quick description?
Yeah. Marketplaces are companies that basically work by connecting buyers and sellers. So if you think about Amazon, if you think about Instacart, right? You've got someone looking to buy something, you've got seller looking to sell company something, and then the company basically monetizes that by taking a transaction fee. And that's in contrast to more classic software models. If you think of like Microsoft or Dropbox, where they're selling you a piece of software and they're charging you per seat or per month. So marketplaces work by having two types of users and then really encouraging transactions between those.
And some software as a service companies are adapting and adopting a marketplace component. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, it's all it's just all interrelated. It's crazy. Okay. Well, Ruth, I really appreciated you coming on the show. Thank you so much. Is there anything that we didn't cover off on that you really wanted to share with the audience before we go?
No, I think that's it. Good luck. Good luck out there. It's a tough market.
Yes, it continues to be tough, but there's still hope that there are jobs to be had, and you just have to be creative and specialized and stay in your lane for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Mental game, right? Like, huh. Honestly, that was the toughest part. And that was also why I was like, I just want a job. I don't want to be in this market anymore, right? The mental game is really a big component.
I mean, I did not realize how much it had been impacting my confidence until I'm now on the other side. So I know that that's 100% true. So everybody just stay positive. Make sure you diversify your interests where you stay
Yeah,
specialized in your job search, but be diversified in your hobbies and the things that you do to keep
exactly.
yourself happy. So
Yeah, and that was one of the good pieces of advice I got from a friend. She was like, "Have a really intense hobby if you're full-time job searching, because then that gives you something you can control and feel you made progress on. You can't really control what's going on with the job market, right? So have a nice intense hobby where you can get all of your validation and progress out of it."
so what was yours?
I started like a newsletter for marketplaces.
Nice.
So yeah,
Okay, well, we'll link to that too, and I'll take a look at it. And thank you again for being on the show.
it was great to hop on.
That has been today's episode of TechRect. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, email techrectpodcast@gmail.com and we'll get it scheduled. See you next time.